Friends, over the past 5 or 6 years, there's been a very disturbing trend that's been brewing. You see, you look at that and you think that's a Toyota. Technically, you'd be correct, but really you'd be wrong, because what that is a D-segment car. And since your grandfather's grandfather's grandfather, you could get a V6 in a D-segment car. Yes, I may be exaggerating a bit. Your grandfather's grandfather's grandfather probably could have got a V8 in his D-segment car, but that's not the scope of this episode. You see, this trend's been brewing, but that bucks the trend, because that has a V6 engine. Now, I know you don't believe me, so follow me. Come here, I'm gonna prove this to you. Really, follow me. Check this out. And no, we're not gonna look at the black roof right now, or the red leather interior. In a Toyota Camry, here, the release is here. Check this out. Okay, you sitting down? You sure you're ready? V6. Auf Deutsch, V6. So you know what that means. After almost 8 years, and more 911 Targas, Lotus, and Aston Martins, it's come down to this. We're gonna drive a Toyota Camry. Okay, so yes, the best-selling car in America for something like 15 years. No exaggeration, 15 years. But I will tell you, I am somewhat excited that we still have a V6 in a D-segment car. So with that, let's put our foot into it. And honestly, this is the first time I really am driving it. So let's do it. Oh, you know what? It's not the quickest thing out there, but listen to it. Granted, don't go this fast around a turn in a Camry. The brakes work, we found that out. But listen to it. Try it again. It doesn't make a lot of noise when it's under load. You know, you and I have been driving 4-cylinder turbos in D-segment cars now since, what was it, the Sonata back in 2010. The 2011 Sonata was the first one to go all 4-cylinder, and I guess I'm just so used to all the noise in D-segment cars that it's not the insulation, it's just that's what 4-cylinders do. So here we have a combination of a little bit of power, but it's delivered more smoothly and a little bit more suppleness. Wow, who knew that driving a V6 in 2017 would not so much be an experience of acceleration and getting the car to go faster, but more about an oral experience. So as of late, you and I have not only been looking at cars, we've been looking at the business cases behind certain important cars. Like, do you remember when we looked at the Nissan Rogue recently? We found out that the Nissan Rogue, their mid-size crossover, is starting to outsell their best-selling car, their D-segment car, the Altima. So how does this trend fare over on the Toyota side of things? To answer that, I did a little research. I looked at the total sales for the top 3 selling cars for Toyota, and it breaks out this way. The RAV4 did 352,000 units in 2016. The Corolla, a C-segment car, did 360,000 units. The Camry, their best-selling car, also the best-selling car in America, which has also been the best-selling car in America for the past 15 years, did 388,000 units in 2016. Not an inconsequential amount. But then I looked at 2017, at least the first 5 months. The Corolla, 136,000 units. The RAV4, 150,000 units. The car behind me, or at least the older version of the car behind me, 147,000. Okay, now let's try something that Camry's not really known for, and that is driving dynamics. So let's put our foot into it a little bit. Please don't try this at home. Brake, 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 brake. Coming around a turn here, and there's definitely some lean back there. Oh yeah, there's some lean back there, but it's controlled. That's kind of surprising. Remember Kobasan? Remember him? We talked to him when we drove the CHR. This same platform. Okay, now we're getting into a couple of nice turns here, so let's push it a little bit harder. And while it certainly isn't that menagerie of 911 Targas we've driven recently, it's not a sloppy mess that you would expect a D-segment mass market car to be. And focus on situations where most Camry drivers would experience this. And I would say that a 2-lane country road is about as exotic as it gets. So let's put our foot into it. And the thing you really do notice is the choice of hardware. And I'd like to point out we're in the Pacific Northwest. Logs. Okay, logging truck aside, the thing I can't help but notice is the choice of the hardware in the back. They've gone so far as to do the more expensive choice of double wishbones, but it's not so far as to put in dampers to make this thing compete with like a 3 Series, a C-Class, even an IS, which this thing is not designed to be. Now, I think they went the more expensive choice rather than the wretched trailing beam system you see in most D-segment cars, because this would work better over rough pavement, broken pavement, railroad crossings, the kind of stuff a Camry would see every day. Okay, we can't get through this episode without me letting a little design nerd fall out here. And if I'm being completely honest, Toyota Camry, there's no other way to put this. It's like the automotive equivalent to celery. Won't offend anyone, but it certainly ain't exciting. However, this one, there's a couple of things. Like, for example, like the 2-tone front black and white grille with the air dam with the aluminum there, something you wouldn't expect on a Camry. Then this one's got a black roof and black mirror fairings, and if you look into it, there's a little metal flake in the black. And if that weren't enough, there's a rear spoiler. I have no idea why you need a rear spoiler on a front-wheel drive car, but it's there and it's black. But here's the thing that really stands out to me. Look at the daylight opening, and with all due respect to my very good friend, Ralph Gilles, you look at that, you cannot tell me that you do not see Alfa Romeo Giulia in that. And be honest, think of this as like a bonus question. Let me know in the comments below. So a couple of notes. First and foremost, you notice this thing is screwed together pretty well. Remember the CHR, I was kind of taken back how well this thing is put together, and really the only way to put it is this is why so many people you know that are really not car people, they buy a Toyota and then like 10 years down the road they tear another one off the roll. This is kind of the same ilk. Second, you notice little details of better tactile feel. Like, for example, the mirror switch. It looks like it should be in a Lexus, and actually the recent Lexus, they haven't had one this nice. And then third, it has a head-up display. Now, there was a head-up display previously on offer only in the hybrid. Now it's on offer in the hybrids and the fancier versions with a gasoline engine. In this one, it's like a 10-inch head-up display right where you need it to be. So it's not like, you know, when you drive a Corvette, it's kind of like this smaller thing. It almost is like an inch or two. This is like almost the width in front of the gauge cluster. Nice touch there. So a bit inside baseball here. You may have noticed throughout this episode that I've been driving an all-white XLE V6, but for the stand-ups, I'm using this very flash-looking XSE V6. But it's not that this is the sport model that makes it stand out, it's the choice of color that makes it stand out. The 2-tone with the black roof and the red interior. And you know how we kind of joked around in the episode that previous Camry was like the automotive equivalent to celery, this one's now the automotive equivalent to jicama. Well, when you choose the right color, it changes the personality, and it's kind of like Tsuboy-san is giving you a side of hummus with some red pepper chopped up in there for a little spice. Now that we've unpacked that, I need to leave you with not one question, but 2 questions. And I know I've been hitting you with a lot of questions in this episode. The first one is that whole thing of having the V6 on offer. Does that move the needle for you in a D segment car? Like, would you opt for this over the Ford, the Chevy, the Kia, or the Hyundai because it has a V6, or it just doesn't move the needle? And then number 2, and this is more important, we talked about those numbers between crossovers, which is obviously now growing and outselling this, and D-segment cars. Why would you choose a D-segment car over a crossover, or vice versa, why would you choose a crossover over a D-segment car? And be honest with me, like, I got a lot of rugrats, or I just like sitting up high, or I would never buy a crossover. Let me know in the comments below, or via our social media, MotoManTV all one word, MotoManTV all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I want to leave you with two things. Please unsubscribe from us, and then resubscribe, click notifications. This is how much YouTube has absolutely ruined the platform. And number two, I want to leave you with a fun fact, and this is from the Toyota marketing people, and they've spent, over the past 2 days, they've spent a lot of time talking to us about, whoa, D-segment car, and people are going to buy and do this. Well, guess what? I found some information. The average age of the Toyota Camry buyer, this was a little surprising to me, and this is over all of them, not just the fancy one and not just the low one. The average age, 52. Until I see you next time, bis später.